use headphones for best experience. Thanks for your fantastic support. Hi, welcome to another video. This video is going to be about antique calendars, almanacs from my collection, especially one that I bought recently that I want to show you. But first, let me show you that you can also find a lot of my content on audio streaming platforms, Spotify, Apple Music, other platforms. Then you type in ASMRctica, ASMR, and see discography, and you will find a lot of albums here with my content audio only. So I've been collecting almanacs now for a couple of months. It kind of started around New Year's Eve. Maybe I was interested in the calendar. Maybe I become interested in this topic every New Year or something. Because the calendar, the year changing, and I've always found it fascinating how the year is divided into months, weeks, days. And these are just two examples of almanacs. This one is from 1859. Swedish almanac. And this one I just wanted to show you because it has exactly the same type of cover here. It's from 1863. Yeah, so maybe this was a modern pattern for books around 1860. This is a more standard one. But the one I would like to talk about today is in this box. It's like the holy grail of my collection. And it's a small book, as you can see. And I think it's better if I zoom in a bit. So this is an almanac from Liège in today's Belgium. And you can see it has gold here on the edge of all the pages, or gold color. And it's written in French. It's Almanac pour cette année, and in Roman letters. says 1770, 1500, 700, 1750, 60, 70, and 9. So 1779, or in French it would be 1779, I think. Supputé par maître mathematician, I think. Landsberg Math. Or master, I think. Master Landsberg, mathematician. À Liège, chez la veuve S. Bourguignon, un printeur de son Altesse, rue Ferronstré au livre d'or, avec privilège. And it's really nice because it has all these illustrations, woodcut, I think, illustrations. So it was, I guess it was a quite expensive book at the time, because not everyone could afford, I mean, the gold color and this nice hardcover and the illustrations, of course, and also printed in 2 colors, red and black ink. And I'm really interested, and the reason I bought it is for the last part here, where you can see each month represented by a spread like this. And it has all these illustrations, almost no text at all, just symbols and illustrations. So that's what I've been studying lately. I kind of want to decode this because there are so many symbols. It's like a code, everything, and I want to decipher it and understand what it means. What did people in the 18th century read or understand when they saw all these illustrations and all these symbols? If I take a look first in the historical atlas, here's Central Europe, about 1786. So Holy Roman Empire did still exist in today's Germany primarily, and here you can see B stands for Bishopric of Liège. Today this is Belgium, but in late 18th century it was divided basically between Austria, Netherlands and Bishopric of Liège. So it was a Prince-Bishopric, which means that the bishop also functioned as a prince and a leader of this province. So it was like an independent state within the Holy Roman Empire. And 1779 was at the end of the period of Prince-Bishopric. I have made some notes here about Principality of Liège. It was a Roman Catholic ecclesiastical principality or state of the whole Roman Empire. And it briefly became a republic from 1789 to 1791, so a couple of years after this almanac was published. But then it was annexed by France in 1795. And the Holy Roman Empire was dissolved totally in 1806. So there were still a couple of decades where the Holy Roman Empire existed. Okay, so let's start taking a look at this. Here's a section with all the months written like this, where you have information for all the days of the month, and the saint or the feast for that particular day is mentioned here to the right, and the moon phases, pleine lune, dernier quartier, nouvelle lune, and premier quartier. So this is of course full moon, and this is the last quarter, this is new moon, and this is first quarter. And February, March, Avril, Mai, Juin, Juillet, Août, Septembre, Octobre, Novembre, December. And this is good because when you then, if you take a look at these last pages, where some of the days and saints and feasts are represented by a picture, I guess the most important ones were chosen, and always some 8 or 9, yeah, I think always 9 days from the month were chosen to be represented by a picture, because the layout made that possible and convenient. So then if you wonder about one of these, you can always check here in this section. You have it written in more readable letters. Yeah. Actually, this almanac is more easy to read for me than the Swedish ones from the same time period. The Swedish one, just like the German ones, for example, this one, the Swedish one from 1775, they're written in this font, the old Gothic font. very popular in particular in Germany, and the Swedish almanacs were really inspired by the German ones. But this is in Roman letters or Latin letters, like an Antiqua style. So it's easier to read, I think. Let's start with January. Janvier a 31 jours. January has 31 days. Each month is represented by a picture that should represent the whole month. So if you take a look at this, you can see that they are sitting around a table dining inside. So the pictures usually for December I've seen. December and January is a motif when people are sitting inside. Most of the other illustrations, as you will see, are from outside. But this was the month when you were doing a lot of work inside. Yeah, because it was the coldest season in the northern Europe, northern parts of the world. And also I think it could represent the feast, all the feast days around Christmas that continued at New Year and a couple of days after New Year, all until Epiphany. So, but I wonder why this person has a crown. Is it a king? And then I think the reason why there are jugs here is because they could represent the astrological sign from this period, the Aquarius. And yeah, I should show you also this part. En signification des signes mis sur chaque jour de l'an. So here is the legend for what all the symbols will mean. Ceci signifie nouvelle lune. The red circle filled with the red color is a new moon. Ceci premier quartier, first quarter. Ceci pleine lune. Full moon. Yeah, new moon. Maybe I said full moon. New moon. Full moon. Ceci dernier quartier, last quarter. Bon saigné. At first I thought it was feigné, but I had to get used to the S, because the S letter is not easy to recognize for me. It looks like an F, but this is an S. So it's bon saigné, and it has to do with sang, blood. So the days marked with this sign, they were good for bloodletting, which was a popular medical therapy by this time. And bloodletting was the deliberate withdrawal of blood from a patient to prevent or cure illness and disease. So it could be made by a physician or by leeches. It was based on an ancient system of medicine in which blood and other bodily fluids were regarded as humors that had to remain in proper balance to maintain health. So that was a popular method at this time. And this symbol, I think it's a double cross. Somehow. Is moyennement bon. It's medium good, I guess, for bloodletting also. This little cup here in red is bon maître ventouse. And this is good for cupping. Also in alternative medicine, cupping was a therapy, form of pseudoscience in which a local succation is created on the skin using heated cups for a wide array of medical conditions. For example, back pain, poor appetite, high blood pressure. So those two were really popular. And then there are signs for the different days of the week. Dimanche is marked in red, Sunday. Feasts, fête, is marked by red triangular. Médecine avec breuvage. Medicine with beverage. Some kind of container here. En commun. Means in common. I don't know what it refers to. Or yeah, medicine, uncommon, in common, perhaps. Here's medicine avec électuaire. Électuaire. That's a medical paste made by mixing powder, herbs, and or other ingredients with a sweet substance like honey or syrup to improve taste. And then medicine avec pilule. That's pills. This symbol here. Bon sévérer les enfants is the symbol. Weaning children. The process of transitioning a child from breast milk. This symbol is bon planter et fermer. A good day for planting and fertilizing the earth. Here's bon labourer et engraisser la terre. This pitchfork here. So it's planting, or plowing and fertilizing the earth. Here's a symbol of an eye. And it says bon pour médier aux yeux. And I haven't found what this means, médier. I can't find a translation for médier. So some kind of medical treatment for the eyes, I think. Bon couper les arbres. An axe means it was good day for cutting trees. And then bon pour couper les cheveux. Scissor that says it was a good day for cutting your hair. And mauvais ongle, and this hand with the pointing finger means it was a good day for cutting nails. And then there are some interesting signes du temps, different signs for this also function as a weather forecast somehow. I don't know how they came up with this forecast so much in advance, because I guess it was printed several months before 1779, this book. So temps beau, good weather, represented by a hat. Froidure et gelée, represented by a mitten, so cold weather. Pluie, fraîcheur, represented by something that I haven't figured out what this is supposed to be depicted. But it's rain and cool weather. Gelée is frost, I think, so cold and frost. Neige, a lot of small dots here representing snow. Vent, so a person blowing a wind from their mouth. It's windy weather. And tonnerre, thunder, and I haven't figured out this symbol either, what it is. So in this first row you can see some of these symbols. Here are some pills, I think. Good days for taking pills. Here's the black circle with a cross. I think it wasn't possible to see the cross, but I think this one has a cross. Bon medicine, this electuaire medicine. Electuary. And then there are days marked just with a line like this, vertical line, or vertical and diagonal. And these are actually pointing to a saint or a picture. So the first one is pointing to January 1st. You can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. The red blur here is actually a sign that should probably be here. I think all the red ones should be placed a little more to the left, but it is a misprint here, or mismatch. So I can't really see what the red one is. Just it looks like snow, but the snow shouldn't be. No, maybe it's this one. Moyennement bon. Moyennement, medium good. And then it's electuaire, and then so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6. January 6th is this picture. 7, 8, 9. So January 9 is the saint. January 1 is circoncision, or New Year's Day, but it was originally celebrating the circumcision of Jesus. 8 days, inclusive counting from his birth on December 25th. So it's depicting his mother Mary holding a small child here, 8 days old, and some kind of priest, I think, holding a knife. And then it's Les Trois Rois, the Three Kings. So it's Epiphany, celebrating the three wise men, or the three kings, on this day. So these are quite well known even today, these two feasts. Yeah, in countries that have been traditionally Christian. And here is the first saint, Saint Saint-Julien. Now it becomes interesting, I think, because who is Saint Julian? I have been looking up a lot of these saints, and I found that celebrating a saint called Julian on January 9th is commemorating actually two saints originally, Julian and Basilissa, husband and wife. They were venerated as saints in the Roman Catholic Church and the Eastern Orthodox Church. They were Christian martyrs who died at either Antioch in today's Turkey or Antino in today's Egypt. And the legend says that the two converted their home into a hospital, which could house up to 1,000 people. And the information I get from Wikipedia. And the attributes for this saint is a palm of martyrdom. And you will see that a lot of saints is holding some kind of palm frond or palm branch. And it just means or shows that they died as Christian martyrs, which was a very popular way of becoming a saint back in those days. I mean, so it was a very popular reason for becoming a saint in the old Roman Catholic culture tradition. And then it's, yeah, let's take the rest of the symbols also. Here's another pill, I think. I can't really differentiate the symbol for the medication with pills or the good for weaning children. They look so similar. But I think these are pills. Maybe this one was weaning children. And here's the pitchfork saying that this day, January 8th, was good for plowing and fertilizing the earth. And pills again, and then a red symbol for good for bloodletting. Then we have the weather forecast. Cold weather, cold, cold, cold. Snow, snow, cold. Snow, snow. And in between you can see that the moon was, it was full moon, I think, here on January 2nd. And last quarter moon, January 8th. And here you can see the days which were feasts with service in church. That was 1st of January, the New Year's Day feast. Here's the first Sunday. You can see the cross and the rounded shape like this. So if this was a Sunday, this must have been a Friday. But it was a feast because, yeah, it was the 1st of January. Here's a Sunday and here's regular days. And then a feast again, the January 6th. And again okay, so Julian was not a feast day. It was just a day commemorating this saint. But here's next Sunday. And the last row here is when the moon enters these signs in the zodiac. I think there should be like a list table for those also. Here. Les 12 signes célestes. The 12 celestial signs. Here's Aries, gouverne la tête. Aries, that is, it rules the head. Taurus, le cou or collet, the neck. Gemini, les bras, the arms. Cancer, la poitrine. Poitrine is the chest. Leo, the cœur, the heart. Virgo, les entrailles. Les entrailles, that's the gut. Libra, les reins, that's the kidneys. Scorpio, les parties honteuses. And I have translated this and found out that it means the shameful parts of the body. Sagittarius, les cuisses, the thighs. And Capricornus, les genoux, the knees. And Aquarius, les grèves des jambes, the legs. And Pisces, les pieds, the feet. So it goes from top to toe like this. And in almanacs in general, it's often marked both when the sun enters these signs in the ecliptic and also when the moon enters these signs. So here's the moon in Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricornus, Aquarius, Pisces, Aries, Gemini again. So you can see it has a cycle of approximately 29 or 30 days, just as expected. Also in red you can see this symbol is sun, and then also in red you can see which sign the sun enters at this date, and this should be Aquarius. Yeah, you can see it's the same shape as this one, but in red. And Aquarius was also depicted or represented here in the large picture. So let's continue here. We have a day for cutting your hair and taking medicine by pills and cut some trees, and then taking some medicine with electuary and cut some hair again. And then it's a diagonal pointer. So we have the next saint day here. It's Saint Antoine. Anthony the Great. And he's depicted here as a bishop. You can see the bishop staff here, called a crozier. And also on the head he's wearing a mitre. And Anthony the Great, I have read a bit about him too. He was a monk from Egypt, also called Anthony the Abbot, Anthony of the Desert, Anthony the Hermit. For his importance among the desert fathers and to all the later Christian monasticism, he is also known as the father of all monks. So he's a very early monk. It's from the late 3rd and early 4th century. I forgot to tell you that Julian and Basilissa, they lived in the early 4th century. According to legend, of course, this is legends, very Christian legends, but I'm just interested in this because the history and the legends, not like for the belief or anything like that. So just want to say that I don't try, even though I'm mentioning a lot of religious stuff here, I'm not trying to like convince you in some belief. Here's he's depicted as a bishop, but he wasn't really a bishop. He was more like a hermit and a monk, and I don't think it's so common to see him as depicted as a bishop like this. But eventually, maybe he became a bishop after all. Usually, he's depicted with a pig and a bell and a book. The pig because there was an hospitaller order in the 11th century called the Antoines. or no, Antonines. And they raised pigs and used their fat for curing sick people. And it's also said that Anthony was a swineherd at some point of his life. And the bell would symbolize his ability to reject temptation, and the staff that he also, quite often represents his old age. So he is celebrated on January, let's see, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. No. It should be 17th, I think. I have to count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, yeah. And here's the moon again. New moon. Here is some medication. A good day for medication again. With beverage. And here's a pill again. And here's the next saint. 3 days after Anthony, it's Saint Sebastian. Saint Sebastian. And he lived, according to legend, in the late 3rd century. An early saint and martyr. And I'm not sure if these are martyr palm fronds that he's holding above his head, or if it's supposed to be a tree behind him that he's tied to a tree, because it's often depicted like this. The scene from his martyrdom with arrows on his entire body, because according to legend he was killed during the Diocletianic persecution, among a lot of the Christian martyrs in the calendar, at the end of the 3rd century or early 4th century. I guess a Roman emperor that persecuted the early Christians a lot. So he was initially tied to a post or a tree and shot with arrows, though this did not kill him. He was healed by Irene of Rome. Shortly after his recovery, he went to Diocletian to warn him about his sins, and as a result he was clubbed to death. But it's this scene that is also most often present in the depiction of Sebastian. So January 20th, and January 21st, the sun enters the Aquarius sign. And then the next saint here is Agnes of Rome. Also martyred during the Roman Emperor Diocletian. So she's holding a martyr palm branch here. And yeah, it's a very crude myth about her martyrdom. She was only 12 or 13 years old when she was killed for her belief. And then we have Saint Vincent. Vincent the next day. January 22nd. Also martyred during Diocletian persecution in early 4th century. He's also holding a palm frond. And he was a deacon, and maybe he's distinguished from a lot of the other saints here, because he's wearing maybe, I can't really see the details, but it looks like he's wearing a bit different clothing, and it could be a dalmatic that was usually worn by deacons. He is the proto-martyr of Spain. He's from Huesca, and the patron saint of Lisbon, Algarve and Valencia. And his legend is quite similar to the one from St. Lawrence. It even says he should have been grilled on a gridiron. So they are kind of mixed, maybe mixed up, those two legends, because Lawrence was also from Huesca, Spain. So he suffered a lot of torture, like most of the martyr saints. And then 23rd, 24th, first a day good for cutting trees and then for cutting hair. When are you supposed to cut your nails? And then it's January 25th, feast day called Conversion of Saint Paul the Apostle. And here's a scene from the Bible, I guess, when Saint Paul falls from his horse. He's riding towards Damascus, Syria, and it strikes him some kind of light, and he gets a vision, and is converted in that moment. It's a quite popular and common motif in art. So he's like hearing a voice telling him that he should stop persecute the Christians. So after that he became Saint Paul. So he started to help the early Christians instead. Then that's January 25th, when it's the moon like this, which means first quarter, and then it's a day for medicine by beverage, and then for cutting trees, and then it's the day for Saint Charlemagne. Charlemagne, king of the Franks. He was king late 700s, emperor of the Carolingian Empire. He united most of Western and Central Europe, and was the first recognized emperor to rule from the west after the fall of the Western Roman Empire. So this is a bit different saint than from the others. This one is a real king, historical king. You can see the crown here, symbol for a king, and also this. I thought this was an apple. In Swedish this is called riksäpple, the apple of the rain. But I think in other languages it's referred to as globus cruciger. So it's a globe with a cross. He's holding a sword, I think. Could be also a scepter, spire, but I think it's a sword. And yeah, then there are 3 more days in January. It's a good day for, I think, weaning children and for bloodletting and for this one, planting and fertilizing the earth. And there will be a rainy day here, windy day, cold days, snow, rain, snow, wind. Let me know in the comments if you can see what this is supposed to depict. Maybe at the end I can zoom in even more on this symbol and the other one, if I find the thunder symbols. And there are regular days here, on Sunday here and here. And here it was also snow, cold, wind, good weather. Oh, this was the only good weather here. January 15. Snow, rain, snow, and wind. So that was January. I think I will jump to July, because now it's June, and I think this video will be published in hopefully early July this year, so it will be fun to talk a bit about July. Juillet a 31 jours. July has 31 days. That's good to know. And here's a picture representing July. Here's a lion, which means that the sun will enter the astrological sign of Leo during this month in the ecliptic, the zodiac. And now we're in the middle of the summer and work with haymaking, cutting the grass and drying the hay on these hay racks. And here's also a jar. I don't know what this one is representing actually. Rain, perhaps? I don't know. start with a good day for taking pills, and then the feast day, Visitation Notre Dame. And that is a standard scene in calendars and also a very popular scene in art from medieval times. So it's showing the scene when the pregnant Mary visits her cousin Elizabeth, who was pregnant with John the Baptist. And it's, according to legend, she stayed 3 months with Elizabeth. It's also said here that Mary left Nazareth immediately after the Annunciation and went into the hill country, into a city of Judah. There are several possibilities as to exactly which city this was, including Hebron, south of Jerusalem, and Ein Karem. The journey from Nazareth to Hebron is about 130 kilometers or 81 miles. So, then it's a good day for weaning children, and a red day here, it's medium good for bloodletting, and it's a good day for cutting hair. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The July 6th is a day for celebrating Saint Goar. Goar of Aquitaine, French priest and hermit from the 7th century. He was offered the position of Bishop of Trier, but prayed to be excused from this position. And he's noted for his piety, like a lot of these saints, and is revered as a miracle worker, also like a lot of these saints. And he was frequently visited by travelers seeking advice. The attributes for this saint is a hermit being given milk by 3 hinds and holding a pitcher. With the devil on his shoulder or under his feet. But here is only a palm frond. But I haven't really seen or read anywhere that he would be martyred. And he's living also later than most martyrs did. The persecution of Christians, early Christians, had basically ended here because Roman Empire had been Christianized during the 4th century. So I think maybe some of these depictions are a bit wrong or misinterpreted. Or maybe I'm just don't have the information, the correct or complete information about this saint. And then it's a good day for taking medicine by liquid, and then for working working on like farming and taking medicine with electuary and do some bloodletting and the 11th, July 11th, it's a day for Saint Norbert. Norbert of Xanten lived in the 12th century, German Catholic bishop, the Archbishop of Magdeburg. I'm not sure exactly where Magdeburg is located. I could probably check. But I think most of these saints that were represented with a picture are the very popular saints in this region. So quite close to Liège, I would guess. So maybe northern, what's now Germany, Netherlands, Belgium, northern France. In this area, if there are saints that have lived there, been bishops, priests in those areas, then it's more likely that they are depicted in this calendar. Trier. Where's Trier? Isn't it also in like northern Europe? I did a quick check, and Magdeburg is in eastern Germany, close to Berlin. But Trier, where Goa was, it's actually very close to Liège. It's close to Luxembourg, exactly in the area which are covered by this Prince-Bishopric. So Norbert is holding a monstrance, probably, at least usually. This looks maybe more like a bishop's staff. Yeah, this is definitely a bishop's staff. Monstrance are more like rays, like this, shining from the center. But also he's holding a flower, maybe. I don't think this is supposed to be a martyr palm frond. Maybe a lily. Lilies could represent purity, but I'm not sure. And next in July we have Saint Margaret, Saint Margaret, on July 13th. I think she has been celebrated both on July 13th and July 20th, at least in Sweden. So there were like 2 days. I think in Sweden she used to be celebrated July 13th, but now July 20th. And by being celebrated, I mean her name, Margareta, in the Swedish calendar. Because in Sweden we have, and I know in Finland too, this tradition of having one name on each day. I think many European countries at least have this tradition, but I know that it used to be a bigger tradition in many countries, but it's not so well known any longer. But in Sweden this tradition has been kept, and many of these names, there are a lot of examples when they are the exactly same name, as you can trace them back to this this list of saints in the Catholic calendar. For example, Margaret. And but many days have been replaced during 19th and 20th centuries by not religious names, or names that don't have any connection in religious legends. So also that's a reason why I find this so interesting, because I always, when I read the calendar, the almanac, the Swedish calendar, you see a name and you wonder, why this name is on this day. And then you can start studying it, and you see that how it's really good actually when you're reading the Wikipedia page for all the days. For example, you can take and pick any day, July 13th on Swedish Wikipedia. You get a really nice list of all the names that have the name day on that date and how it has changed over time. It's really interesting, and I have been using that a lot when I've been studying these topics. Here's Margaret, and she's holding a crucifix. Usually, actually, the depiction of Margaret used to be a lot more interesting, because she's quite often depicted with a dragon, or maybe sometimes only the dragon, because according to legend, she was swallowed by Satan in the shape of a dragon, from which she escaped alive. Yeah, because when the cross she carried irritated the dragon's innards. So that's, of course, why she's holding this cross. I hadn't realized that. And she's quite often depicted slaying a dragon. And she was also suffering martyrdom during Diocletianic persecution around 300 AD. So the day before, it was a good day for cutting nails, and the day after is good for taking medicine, I think, with pills, and then cutting trees, and then working with the soil, and then it's the day for Saint Alexis. Who lived in the 4th and 5th century, a Greek monk who lived in anonymity. And there are Syriac and Greek versions of this tradition, so they're a bit different. But the reason, this is actually quite a different picture, it's fun. Here you can see a saint hiding beneath the staircase, and according to legend, he fled his arranged marriage to follow his holy vocation, and disguised as a beggar, and lived near Edessa in Syria, accepting alms even from his own household slaves who had been sent to look for him, but they did not recognize him. But then he returned to Rome, and he was so changed that his parents did not recognize him either. They took him in and sheltered him for 17 years, which he spent in a dark cubby hole beneath the stairs, praying and teaching catechism for children. And after his death, his family found a note on his body, which told them who he was. And then this is on July 17th. And July 18th is a good day for this eye medication that I'm not sure how it was done. And then the next day, July 19th, is the first day of the dog days, or in French, caniculaire commands. So it's represented by a dog with something in his mouth. I don't know what it is. Are called dog days because the sun enters the constellation Sirius, or no, the star Sirius rises and sets with the sun. And Sirius is part of the constellation, the greater dog. It's also called the dog star Sirius. And it's also known these days that last for approximately 1 month is known now for, they are associated with many foods not keeping well because of the warm weather, the climate. Warmest part of the year in the northern hemisphere. So this period is often noted in the calendars. And then it's a day for cutting trees and for bloodletting. Then it's Saint Mary Magdalene's Day, July 22nd. And also a bit different and fun picture. Here is Mary Magdalene, seen from the Bible. She was the apostle that found the grave. After Jesus' crucifixion, he found his grave empty on the Easter Sunday. And here's like a skull. Because I think quite often in art, medieval art and art with the religious motifs, that was so common back in the days, she's often depicted with two things, actually. The ointment jar, because she's said to have been anointed the feet of Jesus when he was crucified. And also a skull. And I think the skull is there because it has something to do with that she went to the grave. And so yeah, when you saw this symbol in the calendar, you were supposed to remind you of that story. Here you can see the sun enters the sign. What animal is this? It must be. Is it lion? Leo? Yeah, of course. It's Leo. And then it's a good day for medicine by pills. And it's July 25th. Saint Jacques, Saint James the Great Apostle. And he is depicted with a pilgrim staff very often, and as a pilgrim's hat. But it doesn't have that here, but he's like very associated with a pilgrim. The patron saint of Spain. And there also the pilgrim walk. You can walk through the entire country of northern Spain on his trail, Camino de Santiago. Yeah, because his remains are held in Santiago de Compostela in Galicia, in western Spain, by the coast there. So 25th and 26th, the next day, is the day for Saint Anne, the mother of Mary. And there are a lot of legends and stories about her, or maybe not many, but according to legend, she had been childless, and she one day when she saw a bird feeding its young, she was sitting in the shade of a tree, and it awakened her desire to have children of her own, and prayed, and she got pregnant and gave birth to Mary. And this legend is also in many other versions with other persons, like Hannah in the Old Testament, and also in the Quran. But they have other names, but exactly the same things are happening. And then it's a day here for farming, or working with the soil, and medicine by beverage, and working with soil, or planting and fertilizing. This was plowing and fertilizing. And then taking medicine by electuaire and cut your hair. I haven't seen one symbol for cutting your nails yet. The weather in July will be good weather, rain, good weather, rain, good weather. Last quarter of moon. Good weather, good weather. Here's thunder. But I have no idea what it's supposed to be. Looks like a horse with a square head. And then good weather, good weather. Good weather, new moon, good weather, thunder, good weather, good weather, good weather, thunder, new moon, rain, and good weather. Sun enters Leo, and it's rain, and it's good weather, it's rain, it's thunder. It's the full moon, and it's good weather, and good weather, and good weather for the rest of July 1779. And it's a Sunday here on the 4th of July, and the 11th of July, and 18th of July, and 25th of July. And this, it's not a proper feast. Not any of these days are a feast with church service. It's only like commemorating saints' days. I would like to end this video by reading something in French, because I think it's so fun to read in French. I haven't really looked up a section to read. Maybe the last page here. can start with this one. Au premier quartier de la Lune, fait bon signe pour les jeunes gens. Au second, pour ceux qui sont parvenus à l'âge de fertilité. Au tiers, pour ceux qui commençant à décliner. Au dernier, pour les vieilles gens. Après 40 ans, il n'est pas bon d'ouvrir la céphalique. Après 15 ans, la médiane. Et après 60, l'on ne fera aucune incision. Sinon, quand suffit le requert et après conseil des médecins bien savants. Ceux qui sont coupés les cheveux au brisant de la lune deviendront chauves. Toutes chauves que l'on coupe au brisson sont meilleures qu'en croissant de la lune, car le bois qu'on coupe au croissant de la lune devient bientôt sec et vermoulu. Il fait bon encaisser les terres avec la nouvelle lune et au premier quartier. Il ne faut pas chartrer le besté comme porc, taureau, bélier et poussignon au brisson de la lune. Il faut vanner et mettre au grenier les pieds au dernier de la lune. Il faut faire puits et fosse d'une nuit avec la pleine lune. En semblable temps, faire couvrir la racine des arbres. Les éclipses. Il y aura cette année 5 éclipses, 3 de soleil et 2 de lune. La deuxième éclipse de soleil et les 2 de lune seront visibles ici. Cette de soleil arrivera le 14 juin à 7h03 du matin. Son milieu à 8h21. 3/4 quartier. La fin à 8h56 et sa grandeur droite 31 minutes dans la partie boréale du disque sol. La ombre de lune le 30 mai. Elle commencera à 4h38 du matin. Son milieu à 5h20 et la fin à 6h02. La deuxième, le 25 novembre, commence à 7h40 du soir. Son milieu à 8h27 et fin à 9h15. So I didn't understand the first part. It was really challenging to read actually, because when I also don't see the letters exactly what letter it is. But this part I basically understood about the solar eclipses. So I should probably read more. Oh, this text looks easier to read. It's a small text about each month. Maybe I can read about July. Prince Henry, the king, conquering the north. And there were a lot of geographical places named here. Emperor. But it's there. It would be nice to find another type of text about moon. Here's a better text, I think. Juillet. Dernier quartier, le 6e à 9h40 du soir. Chaleur. Nouvelle lune, le 13 à 4h16 après-midi. Le tonnerre se sera entendre. Premier quartier, le 20e à 9h20 du matin. Pluie, d'orage. Pleine lune, le 28e à 11h25 du soir. Quadrature plus agréable. En greffe, écusson toutes fortes d'arbres fruitiers et principalement ceux à noyaux. Au commencement de ce mois, on tondra tous les arbustes ainsi que les bordures, comme Yves, cornouille, buis, et on recueille les grains des navets, pois, fèves, céleri, radis, cresson. So first it was about the moon, full moon and new moon and the quarters, and then it's about fruits, harvesting fruits, I guess. grains, celery, la cendre, fondre, la fondre grande ou éclatera-t-elle? C'est dans l'adversité que se connoie le véritable ami. Paysans molestés dans leur chaumière. La paix du cœur est préférable à toutes les richesses. Un faute de vous payera cher sans hypocrisie. Belle et fertile campagne ruinée par un violent orage. Des vies subit dans une cour qui nageait dans la joie et les plaisirs, injustice criante. No, I wasn't sure what that text was about either. Anyway, thank you so much for watching and listening to this video, and I hope you enjoy. Oh yeah, I should zoom in to those two symbols for thunder and rain. Here's rain. Also rain. And here's thunder. 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 Thank you so much for watching, and take care, sleep well, see you soon.